الرحيم الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى ما بعد لقد قال الله عز وجل في كتابه المجيد وفي فرقانه الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة صدق الله العظيم وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم اغفر لي وارحمني والحقني بالرفيق الأعلى وكما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First and foremost, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the opportunity to pray salat in Jamaat, Salat al-Fajr, start off the day with this opportunity, alhamdulillah. And we take for granted, how fortunate we are to not only, be able to come to the masjid, alhamdulillah, but also to make salah, to wake up for Fajr. Many people, don't get the opportunity, or Allah has not guided them to do such. So again, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on top of that, not only that, we are from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the seal of the prophets. And the last ummah to come and the first ummah to enter Jannah, inshallah. So we have a lot to be thankful for. Now, every aspect of the life of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a means of hidayah, is a form of guidance, a lesson for all of us to learn, to take note and take, a lesson from. But, whether it was his ibadah, or his worship, or his social interactions, his muamalat, whether it was the battles he fought, whether it was his marriages, whether it was any interaction he had, alhamdulillah, each and every aspect of his life, it was a guidance, a means of guidance, a means of lesson for us to learn. But obviously towards the end of his life, the lessons and advices started to become more relevant and more pertinent for that which we need today. Just to put ourselves into the picture, for example, a father, teaches his child every day, throughout his life, guiding him, instilling certain values into him, teaching him lessons, guiding him or her. And then one day, the father reaches old age, and he's maybe in the hospital, maybe on his deathbed, and then he says, my son or my daughter, come here, I want to tell you final advices. So the whole life, alhamdulillah, the father is teaching the child is learning, the child is, always guided. But at the end, that final advices, those become the most, pertinent, the most important, crucial advices. Keep on to this. So, for example, just, a father tells his son, just final advices, make sure to take care of your little brother. But the rest of that man's life, that child's life, he's thinking, yes, my father told me before he passed away, right before he passed away, I better take care of my little brother. So in the same way, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, throughout his entire life, after Nubuwwah, he was teaching the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, Sahaba Ikram, and all of us certain lessons, certain ideals, certain values. But towards the end of his life, especially in the final, time of his, the final moments of his life, these advices and these lessons became very, relevant, extremely pertinent to our situation today. So I just want to go through the final times of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life. The final sickness of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam commenced on a Wednesday, and this Wednesday it was in the latter half of the month of Safar. And on that day, it was reported Aisha radiallahu anha, she complained to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam of some sickness. She said, I have some headache. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he joked around and he said, Aisha, she told Aisha, his wife, he said, so what's the big deal? What's the worst that can happen? From this headache, the worst that can happen, maybe you pass away. And alhamdulillah, your husband's a Nabi. Alhamdulillah, I'll make dua for you from Allah and I'll ask for your forgiveness. So what's the worst that can happen? And obviously he's joking around, he's keeping the situation light. And alhamdulillah, my sadis, they always make a point to stop here and they just give us advice. and they say, look at, this is the Nabi of Allah. He has, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he has many things that he has to do, the weight of the dunya is upon him, the weight of the ummah, the weight of the Quran, it's upon him, it's very heavy. There's a lot of things that he has to focus on, a lot of things, this crucial situation in the history of Islam, in the history of mankind. But look how he treats his wife. Look how he speaks to his wife. Look at his mannerisms at home and how he interacts. He keeps the mood light, he's joking around. That is something that we should learn from. We should be normal at home. We shouldn't there should be a certain informality that we have with our family members, especially our wives. And this is a certain thing that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam teaches us. And he continues on. Aisha radiallahu anha, she also jokes around and she says to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that, it sounds, the way you're speaking, it sounds like you want me to die, you want me to go. And you don't mind either, as soon as I pass away, you'll just spend your time with another one of your wives. And they start laughing. So we look at this interaction and you see, some people immediately think, how is Aisha radiallahu anha, she's speaking to the Nabi of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam like this? It sounds almost disrespectful. What do you should hold yourself. And of course, there should be some level of respect, alhamdulillah, but look at the informality in the home. This relationship between husband and wife. This is completely normal for Aisha radiallahu anha. She has that relationship with Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It just comes to mind that there was they say that every Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they used to think that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam would love them the most, and that's how Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam carried out. But when they asked Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who do you love the most? He said Aisha radiallahu anha, and they said from the men, he said her father. So this is something that we should keep in mind as we continue in our daily lives. How do we learn? A lot of the times we learn the ibadat side of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the different sunnahs that we learn with regards to ibadah. But how do we need to start to implement the mu'amalat, the social interactions, and how, first and foremost, how to deal with our wives, and then also in business and certain other social interactions. We'll carry on, inshallah. After that, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually tells Aisha radiallahu anha that you're complaining of a headache. Well, I'm also suffering from a severe headache. So he said it's really troubling me. I'm really suffering. And he says something very important here. He tells Aisha radiallahu anha, I want to call your father Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and I want to call his son as a witness radiallahu anhu. And I want to appoint Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu as the successor after me, as the Khalifa after me. I want to do it clearly. I want to do it explicitly, so that I want to clarify for everyone, so no one can come and claim after my death that this wasn't right or there was someone else. So I want to do that. But before he called Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, realize, and it's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, I thought to myself, Ya Allah wa yadfa al-mu'minun illa Abu Bakr. He says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept, and the Muslims will actually, not allow and will not accept anyone anyone to be the Khalifa after me, except for Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam felt that there was no need to do so, that it wouldn't matter, because this is something that is definitely guaranteed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wouldn't allow. The Muslims would never accept anyone besides Abu Bakr. So, but this is something that is mentioned in the riwayat, in the narrations, that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he intended to explicitly mention that Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu should be the Khalifa after him. And so this is the beginning of the final sickness of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He mentions it commenced on a Wednesday, and it carries on. We'll continue through. So throughout some point of the sickness, whether it's in the beginning or somewhere after that, it is reported that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentions that that he said that I feel the effects in this sickness. I feel the effects of the poison that I was fed in Khaybar. And we all know the famous incident in Khaybar, where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba, they were sitting, and a Jewess, a Jewish woman, she actually fed a portion of meat to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this portion of meat was poisoned. And when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam put this morsel of meat into his beloved mouth, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the meat spoke to him, and the meat told him that I'm poisoned. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't swallow the meat, he took it out of his mouth and he kept it there. And they asked the woman, why did she do this? And she said, I knew that the Nabi of Allah, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he would never be able to be poisoned. I wasn't sure and I wanted to make sure. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is saying that I feel the effects of that poison from that time in this thing. I can feel it. I can feel the poison splitting my main artery. So therefore the ulama, rahimullah, they say, especially Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayhi, he says that the ulama, they say that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in addition to being blessed with nubuwwat, being blessed with as a prophet, he was also blessed with the hukm al-shahada, the ruling of a shaheed, of a martyr. So there's two types of shahada, two types of martyrdom. Right? The first type is what we all know, what we're all used to, is a person who dies in battle fighting for Islam. And this is a literal shaheed, a literal martyr. But then we have another type, which mentioned in the hadith, which is the hukm of shahada. The ruling of that this person will follow the same rulings as if they are a martyr. So these are normally 7 types. So actually, a person who was poisoned, it falls into these 7 types. So alhamdulillah, the ulama say that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also had the maut, the death of a martyr, of a hukm of a martyr. Which is one point to keep in mind. So now we said the sickness started on a Wednesday. So now we'll go to the next Monday. So up until this Monday, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had carried on. He was visiting the Azwaj al-Mutahharat, the pure wives, his pure wives, and but on that Monday, the sickness, it intensified and it became very difficult for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to move each day. So how it works is you would have Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam had his wives, and they would each be designated a certain day. And each day, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would visit one at a time, and he would, throughout his day he can spend wherever, but he would spend the night with that designated wife, and each wife would have their certain day, and he would carry on. Very just, very equal system. But towards the end of his life, with this sickness intensifying, he sought permission from his wives that, listen, it's very difficult for me to move, very difficult for me to travel each day with the sickness. And he sought permission explicitly, and he took permission to stay in the house of Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha. So after that, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam moved into the house of Aisha radiallahu anha, where he stayed for the remainder of his life. So just a small point to make note, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, even though he had these wives, it wasn't a requirement for him to seek permission from his wives. For us, for normal people, yeah, definitely you have to seek permission. But for Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the rules were a little different. He didn't have to explicitly take permission from them. It wasn't their right that he was infringing upon. It was a privilege that they were granted. And this is how Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam would act. Even with a privilege, he would seek permission before taking that back. Rights, he never came close to infracting on the rights of people, of anyone. So this is just a note to see how, look at the life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, how he's acting with his wives and how he's carrying on. Okay, now in this house of Aisha, from this time, from this Monday, there's certain incidents, certain discussions that should be highlighted. We'll start. At this time, this is where Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam explained to all the Sahaba radiallahu anhu that how to make his ghusl, how to make his burial, how to make his janazah, all these things. This was explained at this time to the Sahaba. And from that Monday up until that Thursday, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was still attending, and he was still leading the salah, and he was still performing the salah in the masjid. So imagine, in that state, such a state where he couldn't even travel from house to house to his different wives, he still came to the masjid. We have to introspect and look at ourselves. For what frivolous excuses do we end up not coming to the masjid for salah? Alhamdulillah, all of us are here now, but there's many people here. If we sit here for Jummah salah, how many Muslims do we see here? But how many people are coming to the masjid 5 times daily for salah? And how many people are we calling personally, to tell them, please come to the masjid, and explaining to them the importance of coming to the masjid? Look at the life of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. In such a state, such a sickness, how does Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam still attend the salah, perform the salah, lead the salah in the masjid to show everyone that, look, I'm very sick, but still I'm here. So this is another note that we should keep track of. So on that Thursday, the sickness really intensified. And so he was finding it very difficult. So that morning, he requested the Azwaj Mutaharat, his wives. They had 7 water skin bags. Now the way the Arabs are doing it, this is Arabia, Medina that we're speaking about, it's a desert climate, very hot, very humid climate. So what they would do was at night, when the conditions of the climate would become colder, they would hang leather bags, and these bags are closed up and tied, and they had water inside, big bags, and they would hang them, and the wind, when the wind blew, it would cool down the water inside. So they had what would be cold water.